We are so excited to be back, and we wanted to come back here to all of you guys who have missed us so much with a boom. And so what we did is we brought back, well, we brought not back, but we brought for the first time, probably not the last, Ron Henderson, who is the owner and founder of Henderson Associates, and his chief operations officer, Elizabeth Gilbert, who I have known for a long time. And like I said, I've been watching Ron from afar, and they have been together, you guys, since 2010. That is 11 years. So Christy and I are like so excited to dive into the meat of communication and all those things. But before I do that, I am Linzee Soprani. I'm the CEO of Soprani Consulting. We're the top recruiting and consulting firm for all things real estate. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, Christy Belt-Grossman, CEO and founder of Ops Boss Coaching, the ultimate resource for training and coaching all real estate ops bosses. Welcome to the Leader Equation. So before we get started here, we're changing things up a little bit for all of our viewers. We're going to be doing half an hour so that you get as much as we can packed into a smaller amount of time here. And because of that, we're going to do an abridged version of our quick fire questions. And so what we're going to do really quickly, instead of introducing you guys more, is kick it over to Christy, who's going to get to know you a little bit through those quick fires.
Okay, we're going to super fast. How many years have you each been in business, and how many years together?
I've been 17 years.
16 years.
And together
10, 11.
11.
Right?
11.
Okay, awesome. Year one profit, Ron, and projected profit this year or last year?
I did have profit my first year. $3,733.
So good.
That's awesome. I love that you know the exact number. Okay.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
And profit goal or projected profit this year?
This year, it's looking, I know what last year was. Last year, my profit was $105,000, but I take out $120,000 salary above and beyond that.
Awesome.
This year, I
transparency.
have to look where we're at today. So.
Okay, and then you started out with just the two of you, and now how many people on your team?
6 now. We have 3 agents, plus myself, plus Elizabeth as the COO, and Barbara Union is our transaction manager.
Awesome.
Or our client care manager. Sorry, I said that wrong.
And number of streams of income. We didn't talk about that prior to. Do you want to share that for each of you?
I have 4.
4. Wow. Big money. Good for her. 2.
Okay.
Both real estate related.
Superpower. Do you want to do your own superpower or tell us what the other person's superpower is?
Ooh, I don't know.
I know my own. I hadn't thought through what I would say for you.
What's
I'll
your
do
superpower?
Mine is just the ability to figure it out. Like if there's something I want to know or something I want to get better at, I just know that I can figure it out, which is how we end up with a lot of systems that we have. Is if I don't know it, I go learn it.
Love it. Ron, what's your superpower? Besides your sense of humor, which I have observed on Facebook.
I told her I was going to try and tamper down the humor today and just be a little bit more serious today, but probably visionary. If I had to say one off the cuff, I have the ability to kind of look into the future and know where I want to be. I just have trouble getting there. That's why I need Elizabeth with me.
There you go.
It's the book Rocket Fuel, if you've ever read that.
One of my favorites. So that's perfect intro into those of you who are joining us for the first time on the Leader Equation. We're chatting with owners, founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs, and their shotgun leaders inside and outside real estate about what adds to the leadership formula, what subtracts, what divides, and more importantly, how you can multiply your results. And I'm super excited to also have Elizabeth here because she's one of our coaches at Ops Boss Coaching. And Linzee, I'm going to throw it back to you so we can dive into the good stuff.
Yeah, she's like one of my favorite people to be like, Elizabeth can fix this and help you. So let's talk through everything, guys. So give a brief description of how you guys came together, because I know it's a good story. So walk us through, how did that happen? How'd you find each other?
I'll start and I'll let her pick it up then at the point she entered. But for me, I made the idiotic mistake 4 years into business of asking my wife to quit her good paying graphic design firm and come work for me, which was stupid. Not because she was terrible at being my assistant, but it's just we lost a good income by doing that. And she was not ultimately a right fit for that role. So she worked in that role for about 8 months. And then when family reunion came around in 2010, we went to New Orleans, and my wife wanted to go. And so I took her with me, and I said, I'll take you with me, but you got to go to some classes with me. There's a couple of classes on how to hire and train a rock star administrative assistant, I think is what it's called, something along those lines. So we went and sat in that class, and about 20 minutes in, she said, you're not even taking notes. Why are you not taking notes? And I said, I don't need to take notes. I just need to find an Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth wasn't working for me at that time. She was in our office working for another team. And Elaine, my wife Elaine, knew who she was, and she said, oh, okay, all right. So we get to the end of that class, and they had a rock star panel of agents, I think, and admin up on there, and they talked about what they did. We walked out of that class, and Elaine turned to me and she said, I can't do what they're doing. We need to hire you a real executive assistant. And that's how it started. And so when we came back, keep in mind, this was 2010 and my business was really taking off. I was excelling at a high level over expired listings. And so I had 20 some active listings and buyers calling, and it's just me at that point. So when we got back, Elaine said, I'm going to find my replacement for you, which was great. And she kind of put the word out in the office then.
Yeah, I heard her talking about it. And at the time, I was actually working as a buyer's agent on a team, which was not my strong suit at all.
Hated it.
I did not even know that. Wow.
Christie's face was so awesome.
Hated it.
So, and that was because of the downturn in the market. That particular team was starting to fall apart a little bit. And so I knew that I didn't think they could continue paying my admin salary. So I was like, okay, there's a bunch of buyers sitting in this database and no one's calling them. Maybe that's what I'll do. So I tried that for about 8 months and completely lost all of my savings because I was a terrible buyer's agent. And I said, I have to get back into operations. That's when I heard Elaine talk about, we're looking for someone in operations to hire for Ron. So I stopped him in the hallway one morning. I said, hey, you're looking for a executive assistant, right? And he's like, yeah, do you know somebody? I go, yeah, me. And he goes, okay, how much money do you want? That was literally his question.
I was just busy with business at the time. I didn't even know what to ask her, to be honest with you.
So he told me, so I told him, and he's like, okay, well, what do we got to do to get started? And I said, well, you're going to need some supplies, so I need your credit card. He's like, okay, here you go. And that's literally our interview. Like that's how we got together. And
like a day later, a bunch of boxes show up with staplers and binders and, you know, stuff that admin people use that is alien to me. I didn't know what all that stuff was for, you know. And so that's how we got started, literally.
Okay, if you guys are listening to this, this is not the process, Lindsay.
No. Let me tell you something, and this is what I tell agents now. When you're getting ready to hire a great administrative assistant, don't try to hire an admin that is the cheapest person you can find.
No.
Go out and take some time and hire someone that is going to run your business. Because from day one, that's what Elizabeth started doing. I just got lucky. I got really lucky. And so hire somebody that's going to run your business, not an admin. Because I've never had to hire another admin after Elizabeth. She did it.
Which is what Gary Keller tells us is the model all the time, right? Make a great first hire and then they can do the rest.
Yeah.
Well, it would be ridiculous for us to not at least ask Elizabeth. I mean, clearly you saw something in him. I mean, he gave you the credit card and off and running you were, but you must have seen leadership capabilities in him, right? To say, hey, I'm available.
Yeah. Well, his business was growing, and he started all of that himself. And because at the time it was difficult to get listings, and he had almost 30 on his own anyway, I just knew that he needed help. And he tried to hire me part-time at first. He's like, well, I don't think I'm going to need you for 40 hours a week. And I took a look at the number of listings he had. And I'm like, oh no, you definitely need me full-time. Like, it was just that obvious.
Elizabeth, how long had you been in the business at this time? Because that sounds, that statement and the statement about give me your credit, like those were very confident statements.
Yes. Yeah. No, I had been with my previous team for 6 years.
Okay.
So yeah. So I knew. And that, again, that's kind of why we're more partnership than anything, because I see what's needed and fill the need. It's that recognition, right? And I didn't have that from the beginning. It takes time to develop that, but I put the effort in.
Love that.
Well, and you guys have changed over the years, right? So, 11 years ago, you were somebody as leaders, and now fast forward, here we are. Like, can you guys just give us some examples of how you've grown and some of the stuff that you've gone through together that people can learn from?
Yeah. In the beginning, it was really me feeling out what he needed from me. And I'll tell you, he didn't know what he needed from me. So it was on me to discover it. And I think that's part of what makes someone a leader, is seeing the gaps and filling those, right? And so, even in the beginning, this is probably a good time to tell that when I went on vacation for the first time, he kept asking me, well, tell me what you need me to do while you're gone. Make me a list. Like, I'll process all this paperwork for, while you're gone.
Yeah, because now I'm kind of freaking out because she's been with me for about 6 months and she's telling me she's going to be gone for a week. And now I have a buyer's agent. And so I'm like, well, we can't just like stop production while you're gone. What do you want me to do? And she looks at me dead-eyed and goes, see that little box on the corner of my desk? Just put everything in there. And I'm like, no, we can't just let it pile up, I can do some of this stuff. I'm like, good God, it's only been 6 months now. I know what to do, and I'll fix it for you, and I don't want all this stuff piling up for a whole week, and then you come back and all this. And she's like, no, put it in that box. And she's had to say this like twice, and the third time was like really stern. And so I go, you think I'm going to screw this up, don't you? and she goes, maybe. And I was just like, okay. And Scott goes, she's right. We would screw it up. And I go, okay. So I said, seriously? Okay. So we still tried to do some things while she was gone, but like listings and everything else, we just put it in a box, and then she had to frantically catch up for the first 2 days she came back. But it was to the point where she's right. We would have made it worse by trying to do the stuff. She would have had twice as much stuff. I guess the lesson there is don't get involved in the admin stuff and try and do their stuff.
Well, to me, there's a clear delineation between the roles. I don't need him to do my job I'd rather come back to a pile of paperwork and do it myself and work through it than to let him take his foot off the gas by slowing down to take care of the stuff that I had while I was gone. That didn't seem fair to me, but I want him to take that lead and to keep going, and I will always be the one to push from behind, but I also want him to be steering the boat. And if he takes his eyes off where we're going, that's going to slow us down. So yeah, I always wanted to make sure that he was doing what he was supposed to do and not get distracted.
And I realize that about her today much more than I did years ago. I've always been more than willing to give up the role that I have at the time to get more of my own time back, but mostly because I know that somebody else can probably do it better than I did. That's probably the biggest thing that I've learned here in the last 5 to 6 years versus the first 10, is that I need to replace myself in more of these things. And that's what she's trying to do.
I think you guys have done a good job at making sure that each of you is always focused on highest and best use of your time and your skills in your role, right? You have extreme clarity on, like, Ron, make it rain, think big, where are we going? Elizabeth, is systems processes, not maybe in the beginning your day-to-day, now you have a bigger team. But I think a lot of people miss that piece. Like, I think some ops people are like, yeah, get out of, this is my thing, don't get in my thing because you're going to mess it up. But it's bigger than that. It's don't get in my thing because you're responsible for keeping your foot on the gas pedal and bringing in the business and taking us where we're going to go and telling us where we're going to go.
Yeah.
Right.
100%.
Right.
And how do you guys feel like you got to that place? I mean, Elizabeth, like a lot of people watch this and Ron, most people don't get out of their way, right? They hold on to all of it, they micromanage.
Yeah, I see a lot of agents doing that today. Yeah.
It's insane. So, I mean, were you just that way right from the beginning because Ron's just trusting and like Elizabeth, you're blunt and able to just take it, or like, did you grow into that? How did that happen?
I mean, in the beginning, there was the first 6 months, like we said, she would come into my office and she would say, why are you working on that? And I would go, I don't know. Please take this from me. It was just the repetition of doing it all the time that I didn't consciously realize it until she said something. So she had to be bold enough to actually call me out on it,
Well, and it was his style of leadership to not have an ego in that and want to hang on to it. And I recognized that I had his support, right? So when he didn't fight me to keep it, or he didn't say, no, I don't want it done that way, it was really him turning over responsibility for all of that stuff to me. And I knew it was safe to do that with him, right? Because if he fought me and wanted to keep it, I wouldn't stay. You know what I mean?
How do you know it's safe though? I mean, Christie, that's like something that I feel like we try to get out of people, like, because so many don't feel that safety. Like, how did you know that? Did you guys have that conversation?
No, it's funny. I know it's true. Sometimes it really is just true chemistry, but I think it's also self-awareness. Like I know what I need from a leader. And how did I discover that? Well, it's kind of over time. It's kind of looking back on the leaders that I've had and recognizing the traits and the ones that I liked and the ones that I didn't and what made them unique. And when I saw that in Ron, that he wasn't going to fight me, he wasn't going to micromanage me, responsibility is my number one strength. And when he didn't literally say, hey, these are all your responsibilities, now I want you to do it. He let me take responsibility. And when he let me take it, I was like, okay, now we're talking, because I can take this and run with it. And he gives me a lot of rope, like a lot of room just to make decisions. And that's really what I crave. And I don't know, had he had someone with less ability to take over like that, I don't think that he would have kept them either. Because if he has someone that he has to tell what to do every day, that would drive him nuts.
Well, that's what I had with Elaine, with my wife. I mean, she didn't know what to do. And so it was just so weird that when Elizabeth took over, I was like, I don't even know how to train you. And she's like, I just need your credit card. I mean, that was kind of our joke, but it was just like, she knew what to do already. Of course, she'd been doing this for another team.
Yeah.
But I think Elizabeth, if you hire the right person.
did you know he was going to be that kind of leader before you started working for him? So you just took a whole leap of faith.
I did. You know, sometimes I'm trial and error. Like literally, if it doesn't work out, I'm not afraid to turn and pivot to something else. And I'm not going to say I'm not cautious, because I am cautious, but I've seen him around the office. So I knew who he was. I sat in group meetings with him and saw how he would, did they lose us? Can you still hear me?
Uh-oh.
Okay, I think we're back.
We're back.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so we would sit in team meetings and I would see him there and see how he interacted with the crowd. And I knew that I liked him. So at least from the beginning, he just had a confidence and a style about him that when he would talk about his listings at the team meetings or talk about what he had learned, I knew that he was someone that I would easily fall beside, not behind, but beside, and go down that path of business, because he's very business oriented. And I wanted that business sales style as a leader, right?
I'm just sitting here as someone who's literally in the interview process. Of course, Lindsay does this every single dang day. But as someone who's looking for my systems boss for Ops Boss Coaching, if you're listening, we're hiring. And I'm sitting here thinking about all the interviews I've done over the past couple weeks. And it's been very rare that the person has asked about leadership or communication or relationship. They're very interested in what they're going to be doing, and less questions around who they're going to be doing it with. And it sounds like you were really focused on the leader, not the job.
Yeah.
I love that.
I would say that's true.
And Ron, were you the same way, or were you more focused at the time on the job getting done, and you've realized now how important who the person is beside you?
Well, again, it was funny because in hindsight, I didn't have to go through the hiring process. I guess I was blessed at that point in that the planets and stars aligned and it just came to me. But I literally had sat at this convention, this family reunion convention, down in Louisiana and in New Orleans, and said, I just need an Elizabeth. So when Elizabeth came to me, I was just like, oh, okay, well, this is easy. Because I knew what she brought to the table, because I had seen her in the office and I had high respect for the team that she was on. I had no idea that they were struggling at the time. Nobody ever talks about the struggles. They always talk about it's all rosy and upbeat. And so when she came to me, I was kind of more puzzled than anything else. Although behind the scenes, I was like, oh yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to have you come work for me, please. But had I had to go out and hire someone from scratch, I wouldn't have had a clue who to hire. I really wouldn't have. I'm not sure what I would have done. Because keep in mind, I had 30 some listings. I was so busy at the time, I didn't have time to sit and kind of interview people. So again, I got lucky. So hire somebody that already has that leadership ability to run your business for you. Don't just, too many times I go, I just need I need an admin who can help me with that, And then I see them like so focused on like who's not working right now, like who needs a job. I'm like, the best people are probably not going to be unemployed at the moment.
Right.
They're probably going to be working for somebody else,
Ron, we didn't prep you for this, but I'm going to ask it. How do you keep Elizabeth in your world? Like, how have you done that? How have you continued to challenge her and keep her interested in building your business? And then Elizabeth, I want you to say how he has done that so that he's kept you. Because I think a lot of people are probably sitting here going, God, how is he just, they've
11 years.
And yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess if you're asking me, I guess I would just say that we both want to go the same place. We're running in the same direction together. And I have the vision of where I want to go to build the team bigger. It's not happened exactly like I wanted it to by any means at all. It's been a real struggle, a lot of struggle the last 2 years, just to be quite blunt about it. But I have that vision that I think that she appreciates. And I don't think Elizabeth would continue working for somebody that just wanted to keep stagnant and keep doing the same thing year after year after year.
It would be really hard for me to find another leader that would just let me push him around.
That's really what it's all about.
No, I'm kidding. The conversations that we have on a daily basis of what we're fixing, what we're trying to do, a lot of conversations that we have is what he's working on. And I know that that we are headed in the right direction. And I just feel like together we can get there faster. If I were to go work for someone else, the thought of starting all over from scratch is daunting in itself.
It would be for me too.
Right? Because there is so much history there. And
Yeah.
So I like that he has that vision and keeps working daily to achieve it. I see him do it. I hear him on the phone, right? He is so involved that I don't know that other team leaders are like that, right? I don't know that they have that drive within them. And I like being part of that. I like being part of something that is growing and that has that push and the constant. My number one love language is quality time. So there's a couple of days of the week that I don't come into the office just so I could get projects done. Otherwise, I feel like Ron and I would be talking about the future all day, every day,
Probably.
and get nothing done at the moment.
Mhm.
So we have, we have our times when we go to your corners and work and then come back together and collaborate on what we're working on next.
I think
It's
the
responsible.
conversations that the two of you have are very different from many conversations that I hear team leaders and ops bosses having together.
For sure. I mean, when Elizabeth got started in coaching, it's because she came to me and she said, I am frustrated because MAPS doesn't seem to have, Keller Williams MAPS coaching doesn't seem to have anything for admin people. And there was, Monica Reynolds had some stuff and there was pieces and parts. And she said, I don't know if I should just start my own coaching company or whatever that looked like. And I go, maybe you should. And we sat and talked about it for like an hour that day. And I said, I think you should do this. And she goes, yeah, but I don't know if I want to go home and coach people at night. And I go, why do you have to go home at night? Why don't you do it during the day? And she just looked at me and she goes, so you're going to pay me and you're going to let me look. And when we worked out the schedule with monetary, and I said, I don't need that. I want you to have this secondary income. And behind the scenes, I knew she would really grow as a leader, learning how to coach other people. You really grow when you have to teach a class. And I knew that she would be really good at that. And I just encouraged her to do it. And it was exciting. The first couple of times, I think she was, I don't know if she ever wanted to throw up, but I think she was really nervous about it. Let me say that. And then Christie, she got connected with you and it's kind of gone out from there. So, but I think that it has really helped her grow as a leader for my team as well.
Yes. It's so funny. I feel like we could go. This is going to be the problem with us of not being able to take you guys for an hour here. So here's what I'm going to say. I need somebody to answer this really quickly. What happened? Have you guys ever disagreed on the vision and the growth plan?
I don't know if we disagreed. It's just a matter of how do we get there and
Disagreed on the path.
fast enough.
Yeah, we've been on the same page with the outcome. the
Mhm.
best way to get there is something that we have a lot of conversations about. Because
Yeah.
again, it's trial and error. And he'll attempt something and I will be the one that says, hey, that's not working because this is what I'm hearing. And so we'll take that into consideration, reevaluate, go back, make some changes, try again. Like it's a constant evolving thing, but it's a lot of hard conversations too, because honestly, you know, we've had times when he's like, hey, you need to adjust this about yourself. And this was like an attitude thing, how I approached some of the agents on the team. It was a hard conversation for him to even bring up.
Mhm.
It was hard for me to hear. And yet I know I do that to him all the time. And so I have to be gracious enough to be on the receiving end of that and make some changes too. So it hasn't always been sunshine and rainbows. It's a constant moving in the same direction, but we've been zigging and zagging together for a long time. And we both want the same end result.
How do you have those conversations, the hard ones, where you have to say, this isn't working, or the way you're acting isn't working? How do you have those without the other person becoming defensive in the earlier parts when you're still getting to know each other? It's your first few years. Are you having those conversations or did those happen later?
Well, in the conversation that she's talking about, it was over a span of time. But when I finally had to sit down and talk to her about it, it was just because she was talking a little harshly to the agents. Sometimes, not all the time, just sometimes out of frustration, you just blurt stuff out, you know, and people's feelings get hurt or whatever. And I said to her, we sat down in the conference room, I closed the door, made sure nobody was coming in. And I just said, you know, I love you, right? And I said, and I only want the best for you. And I want the best for this team. But we just need to have this tough conversation. And I said to her, this is a hard conversation for me to have. So I want you to just be open and listen to what I'm trying to say. Can you do that? And she said, yeah, sure. And then I just bumbled my way through it. I thought about it a lot. I asked a couple of different people outside of real estate, some business owners, that how do you have a conversation with an employee or with somebody that you care about? And I got some good advice and just like that, you know, because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, and I didn't want, I don't think she would have left, but I didn't want to take that chance. You know,
It takes courage for both people.
And that was the right way to do it. Like that was perfect for me. I don't know if that would, again, because I appreciate being direct, like don't just sugarcoat it, just rip the Band-Aid off. I'd rather just know so I can change. Is every person that way? Probably not, but that starting with, I just want the best for you, I think works for everyone.
mm-hmm.
Agree.
So how do people get in touch with you? Because I know they're going to have more questions, and we have questions on the Facebook group, so you'll have to go in and answer them because we're going to run out of time. But how do they get a hold of you guys to give you referrals?
Or join your team.
Yes.
Or join
Email's probably the best way. Elizabeth at kansascityagent.com or Ron at kansascityagent.com is the absolute best way.
I love it. We're so thankful for this conversation. Thank you so much for being transparent. And like I said, we could have gone forever. I think my favorite part was you are not behind him, you are beside him. And such gold just right there in that. So many people could learn from you guys and your example. So thank you for being one, and thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank
Happy
you
to do
guys
it.
so much.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.